Sam here at Rick Jones Pianos with a piano I rather enjoyed playing, a very satisfying piano. This is a Steinway Model M built in New York City in 1996. We believe this is the most popular piano model that Steinway's ever made. They've made more M's than any other piano they offer, and for good reason. It's a modest-sized piano, just large enough to provide you a really powerful bass if you need it, without overwhelming a small living space, a relatively small living space. They've been making this piano this model since 1911. Haven't had to change the scale design at all since, I believe, 1917. Because, in my opinion, they nailed it right from the beginning. At a time when many other manufacturers struggled to make a piano this small sound good. I've encountered many other old pianos, little baby grands, small medium grands from that time period, under 6 feet long. And in my opinion, it's just the tone in the lower notes very often, not in all, but in many manufacturers' pianos, competitors to Steinway, the tone was just not there, and it had a very crude transition from the treble strings, which cross this way, and the bass strings, which cross the other way on top of them. Steinway has become world famous for its smooth tone, and part of that is just very smooth progression from one end of the keyboard to the other, just no interruptions in the tone quality. It sounds like the same instrument, whereas in other manufacturers' pianos, that transition area between the two sets of strings, the bass and the treble going underneath, they didn't have an easy time smoothing it out, and you can hear the difference. I can play here a little bit. The transition is in there somewhere. It's between those two notes. And you wouldn't know just by listening to it that they are on two different wooden bridges in the construction of the soundboard. The soundboard is the resonating diaphragm that transmits the vibrations of the sound, the strings, into the room where you are. The bridges are mounted on top of it, they position the strings, and the strings are strung on top of it. You would not know that those two notes are coming from very different parts of the soundboard, but it sounds exactly the same tone. And that's part of, in my opinion, the genius of Steinway's design, and why it's been so enduring for all these years, and why they're so well renowned, and why people continue looking for them today. Of course, it doesn't sound quite like a large piano, 7 feet long or larger, but you wouldn't expect any 5.5-foot piano to do so. Nonetheless, for being only 5 foot 7 inches long, I think this piano sounds great. And it sounds closer to the tone of a 6-foot piano. And again, that's what has made Steinway so famous over the years, that really big tone projection, really full sound, and a really smooth tone across the keyboard. And this particular piano is no exception. I'm very pleased with how it turned out. I would say that it has exactly the really warm, creamy, mellow sound that Steinway's been known for since the 1980s. There have been different time periods of Steinways that they turn out differently on average, and we as technicians working on these older instruments see that difference. In the early part of the 20th century, in my opinion, they tended to have maybe a little bit more of a bright sound, 20s through the 50s, 60s. By the 1980s, more often than not, we see them with a really warm, creamy, really mellow sound, and this piano has it without being bushy sounding. If you need it to sound clear, the piano delivers for you, and I was able to get that out of the first piece I played, which was by Mozart, his Piano Sonata in A minor, first movement. I didn't have any trouble articulating all the tiny little fast-moving notes in that Mozart piece. They were all very clear on this piano, but there was also no hint of harshness whatsoever. So I was honestly quite surprised at how well the piano was treating me with that Mozart. I often struggle with pieces like that on a firmer touch keyboard like this has. But this piano really, it helped me out in this case, and I was very pleased how that turned out. That's why I said it was very satisfying to play. Firmer than I'm personally used to, but very controllable and very responsive. The keys bounced back to a ready position quickly. So it was capable of keeping up with me playing that really noodly piece. I'll call the tone a 4 on a scale from 1 to 10, from mellow to bright. As I said, Steinways are known for being more mellow these days for many decades now, and this has exactly the tone that you would expect. And if you're a student who takes lessons from a teacher at a school that has all Steinway products, including Boston and Essex, and I know there are many schools that have that agreement with Steinway only to have Steinway products, you're going to encounter more of the recently made Steinway pianos, and they're going to sound and feel, in my opinion, a lot like this piano. So if you're a really serious student, or if you're a teacher yourself, and you need to be well prepared at home practicing to be prepared for a piano that you play in school or wherever, I think you'll be well suited, very well prepared playing on this piano at home. It will, very similar, I think, to what you would expect from a later model Steinway. And I think a very good example of it at that. So 4 for the tone. I mentioned the touch is firm. It's 6 on the scale from 1 to 10. Firmer than average. 5 is a neutral touch. 4 is a lighter touch, not as much resistance, which is what I'm used to. But again, the piano really helped me out here. It was very forgiving when it came to articulation, and I think it's one thing why people like Steinways. Really just a very satisfying piano to play. You might say it's better suited for music written, say, after 1800, so Beethoven onward, Chopin, Liszt, Rachmaninoff. A lot of classical pianists who play primarily that music prefer a piano with a firmer touch. But as I said, Mozart worked out beautifully on this piano too. So just know that it has a somewhat firmer touch. But again, if you expect to have to play on a similar piano elsewhere, it's going to be, in my opinion, very similar to other Steinways that you'll encounter. So 4 and 6 for tone and touch. It has this ebony satin finish, which is factory original. I haven't looked at the entire case of the piano, but the fact that the front part here looks so good indicates to me that it's had a very easy life. Whoever had this piano, previously did not abuse it, didn't maybe hardly play it at all. And a lot of people will buy Steinways as more of a statement piece, a piece of furniture, than as something they actually play. And luckily for us, when we acquired this pianos, they don't need a whole lot of work, and this one's in really beautiful condition, which gives us the confidence to put a 10-year warranty on this piano, parts and labor, like we do on everything we sell. Please, of course, make sure you have it tuned twice a year and kept in moderate stable humidity. That's important, especially for the wooden components in the soundboard of any piano, no matter who made it or what size it is. You would especially want to make sure it's well maintained on a Steinway, because these are pianos we expect to last for generations. Maybe it will have to be rebuilt in 80 years, depending on how well it's maintained. The better it's maintained, the longer you won't have to worry about having it rebuilt in the future. And we're rebuilding early 20th century Steinways in our shop now regularly. This one won't need it anytime soon because it's been so well treated, just really clean on the inside. There's no rust on anywhere on the metal parts or the strings. It's been in a very stable environment, and there's no reason to change anything at this point. We have regulated the action, of course, to make the keys all play as they should, but it was not necessary to replace what was already good on this piano, and that's why we're putting that 10-year warranty on it. If you can, and if you wish in the future, you can return to us and trade this piano in for precisely its instrument sales price. That applies to everything else we sell too. But likely, for many people, a Steinway of any size, a grand, is their last piano, and it's certainly a piano that's up to the task of lasting for many decades and generations. So really satisfying piano. Please come out, play it for yourself. You can play this along with anything else in our inventory, but if you can't make it, you can always give us a phone call or send us an email if you have any questions. Thanks.